All right, I'm back for another video. This time I'm looking at the Dell 3120. Okay, so this is their newer model. This is also a touchscreen. You notice if you watch my previous videos, I have cloth down. That's because these things are super sensitive to fingerprints and everything else. If you want to clean them, by the way, I'm not advertising any products particularly, but this stuff is great stuff. I know it's glass cleaner, but it works on a lot of different things. It's safe for the touchscreens. You can use them for interactive displays. If you haven't used this, man, I recommend it. Okay, I get no commission off anything you buy, so it's just my personal opinion. All right, so this is the 3120. So let's start out. Left side, we have the headphone jack, USB-A, and a USB-C port. There's our power light indicator. On the right side, we have just a USB-C port and a Kensington lock, which I don't know anybody who still uses those. So if we go back to the front of this device, we'll open it up. This is not a 2-in-1 device. It only folds 180 degrees. Okay, the screen, nice, glossy, decent bit of glare you can see through here. Again, with these Dell monitors, the colors are kind of flat. I don't know if you can see it there, but they're just not vibrant. They don't pop. The red doesn't pop. It almost looks a little peachish. I don't know. But overall, I mean, it's a decent machine. Very much like the, if you saw my last video, the 3110 2-in-1, it's pretty much the same. And we'll go ahead and shut this down. And let's go ahead and start the teardown. So we do have a camera right up here. Okay, again, no shutter. I do like the rubber here, around here. Now, if you look real close also, and we'll get to this, but you'll see these little tabs that are here. I mean, they're really hard to see in this video. There's these little 4 tabs. Those are going to be screws. So to take this off and actually get to the screen, we're gonna have to remove 4 screws, okay? But let's shut this down. Let's flip this thing over and let's go ahead and get to the teardown portion of it, what you've been waiting for. So we're looking at the bottom. We've got 3 screws up top, 2 here on the sides, 2 in the middle, and 2 here. Now, from our previous video, we know this is not holding down the keyboard. The keyboard's going to be attached to the palm rest. I'm pretty sure I can guess exactly what this is going to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen these screws, and then we'll start removing the bottom case. What we're going to do is take a spudger here, and we're just going to run it around the edge. Now this model, just like the other one, should be easy to take apart. Okay, so I'll finish that. All right, so I ran the spudger all the way around the edges, so this should now just lift up and off, and it does. Let's take a look at this corner. I'm not seeing anything broke here. Here's my little, you can kind of see the raised edges. Here's my clips. There's just no clip on that side. Okay, so that side is just held down by a screw. I guess it's not bad. It just makes it easy to come off. Now, we can already tell a difference between the 3120 and the 3110. So that makes me curious whether or not I should get a 3120 2-in-1 and see if it's the same. What do I mean by the difference? Well, for the most part, we've got the exact same setup. So we've got our right speaker cable with the cord running here over to the left. You will notice they routed the cable underneath the battery on this model, which means we have 3 screws here to take out the battery. To get this fully out, we have to remove the battery. We have the exact same connector here, battery over to the motherboard. Everything still seems to be labeled nicely. We'll glance over this. Still have the same clip. If you watch the 3110, or if you've taken one apart, you'll notice most of the stuff is the same. So we still have the clip that holds down our Wi-Fi cables. It's still labeled real nicely here with the white, and over here you can see black. Got the clip that holds down the LCD cable. But what is really different here is this board. So this board is my USB-C port, and that's pretty much it. This board is separate, which means this at least is replaceable. The rest of it, which is the primary part of this, which is the USB-C, you got USB-A and a headphone jack here. This is all attached to the motherboard. I wish they'd put the headphone jack over here, just to make it cheaper to repair, because again, USB-C and the headphone jack's #1 replacement. But I mean, that's pretty much it. These just lift out of here. Again, to take out the right one, I'm gonna have to remove the battery. The left one's here. It just plugs into the motherboard. So our battery connector is right here. So we got this little pull tab here. We can just pull this out. That disconnects the battery. Again, our keyboard cable is right there. So we can open this up and we can pull this cable out. Come on. And Dell makes these things rough on these two. And again, they put the tab upside down, so the push tab is absolutely useless that direction. Okay. And we got the trackpad cable right there. It's a full flip as opposed to the other one. Okay, so nothing special. I'll show you how these remove in case you're curious. Pop this off. Okay. I'm gonna lift this connector up and off. So it's got this little hinge here, so it's lift up now. Right here's my connector. So I just flip this little latch up right here, pull this straight out. Has a little bit of two-sided tape holding this cable down, so that just lifts up. And then over here we've got the connector for the Wi-Fi. Now the Wi-Fi is built onto the motherboard, which is nice. It doesn't go bad often, but I have had to replace some, so that's kind of not great. But I do like the clip that covers up these two cables. If I wanted to pop these off, I would just literally take my little spudger here, get it under the edge, and just kind of rock up on it. There, and it's off. Put it back down, we just do the reverse. Put this in, over that nub, and just push. Okay, I'll do that here in a second. I do like the rubber. We saw this in the 3110. It holds the cables in place. That's really nice. At this point, I don't feel like there's a need to pull the motherboard out. If you need to, there's just one screw here, and then you got 4 more screws right through there. Just pull those and that comes up. We can just flip up these rocker switches to detach the board here. So we just put our corner up here and flip that up there, and that cable pulls right out. And then we can pop it right back in the opposite way. Okay. Over on this side, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws there. All of them are nicely labeled, just like we saw on the previous model. So you can see we got the M24. Okay, so they're labeled what they are, and it looks like all of them, except for this one again. This one up here is M25. So that one's slightly larger. The rest of them are all the same size. So you just pull those off. This will lift up and out. Obviously, we lift up from this side because we have the headphone jack and the USB-C port in there. Okay, assuming that everything is the way it was in the previous model, we'll just take out these 3 screws. Okay, 3 screws right there. And with those out, the battery should lift up and come out of place. Once the battery's up and out of place, we see the same trackpad, so we can flip this little switch up, pull that off. Okay, and only the black part of that flips up, so it just rocks this part right here, flips up. You want to be careful when you do that. Just put your edge in, just kick it up. We take out these 3 screws here, and then we got these 3 screws, and this pulls up. Again, if you watch that 3110 video, you'll see me pull out the trackpad. So essentially the 3110 and 3120 is almost the exact same device. The only thing that Dell did slightly different in these models, I mean, obviously there's a performance bump in it, but the design wise, they're the exact same, except they finally separated these two boards, which is a plus. I mean, that really is a good plus. I really wish that they would have moved the headphone jack from here over to here, since it is broken so much. Look, if it was me, Dell, I would move all of my USB-C ports to one separate board. That way, if I'm charging the computer and that breaks, I can just take that board off and do it. The motherboard doesn't need the USB-C port on it, okay? Headphone jack, I would move all those. I would make a true I/O board, and we just replaced one little tiny board instead of replacing the whole motherboard, the brains, the SSD, the RAM, the CPU, all of it all at once. It's just extra expense, but hey, that's okay. So let me reassemble this and let's take a look at the screen. Okay, we're back with the 3120. The bottom is reassembled, everything's back the way it was. Okay, by the way, just in case you're wondering, if you take your spudger around this part, you just break this plastic piece. Okay, so this comes off with the keyboard with the palm rest. Okay, so now we're going to take apart this screen. Okay, and again, if we look, we got these 4 little spots where screws are on the LCD bezel. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take a spudger here. I'm just going to go in here and kind of pop this out a little bit. And this is just a little sticker. I'm not a big fan of these things, but I realize why they do it. So we're going to pop these out, set those off the side. I'm going to do that to all 4. And then we're going to remove the screws on these. So I took off all the covers and took out all the screws except for the top one here. Take this off, okay? So it just loosens, and these are kind of stuck in here pretty decent. So we'll take those out. And then all we gotta do is pop the bezel off. Now the bezel looks like any other bezel. Looks like we go in here on the side, almost straight down, and then just kind of rock this. I'm gonna start this and I'll show you. Okay, so here we are. I've got the bezel started. Went ahead and just popped this spudger into the side. I'm gonna lay this flat. Okay, just work along the edge. And there it goes. Okay, so we're just going to continue to do this all the way around the bezel. So the bottom of this bezel is a little different. Okay, because of the way it is, you got to come in at an angle. So what we're going to do is actually kind of close this lid a little bit, or hold it open with one hand, and then come in at this angle to pop this bezel up. Okay, now again, this is going to take probably 2 hands for me, but I wanted to show you. So I'm going to actually support this, and you can see I'm doing it with one hand here. It actually is popping up. All right, so I'm coming in like this. Okay, I'm going to finish this out, but I wanted to show you that. All right, so unlike every other model we have, the Dell 3120 display removal is not super easy. What I mean is, you can see that this is now unclipped all the way around. Okay, I'm gonna just run my spudger around that back side again. Okay. Okay, so I'm actually unclipped all the way around, but notice this display is not popping off. Okay, so after several minutes of playing around with this thing and figuring out that there's screws that hold it together, here's your solution for the Dell 3120. You have to take your spudger and run it around the edge here, okay? Now, what you will notice when you do that, there's actually glue, 2-sided tape, all around this thing, okay? All right, so like I said, 2-sided tape. Then we gotta come in here and pop this bezel off. Let me just tell you, okay, while I'm working on this, Dell, though I usually like you, I hate this design. I hate you right now. And a matter of fact, I give this product an F. I give the LCD an F. I know that we got to replace these things all the time, but yeah. So I'm still working on this bottom bezel. There's going to be a clip right here. It's going to be this hinge right here that's going to unclip, and it's going to do it on both sides. Okay. So I'll just pop this. There. Okay. So now we'll just wiggle this a little bit, wiggle the other side a little bit with the tape, and voila. Now we get down to the root. Here's our hinges. Here's our screws. Okay. So we've got 2 screws here. There's a screw. There's one up here. Okay. Let's just use this because I can't find a motor. Got one here. And one here. So we've got the 4 screws that come out here. Here's our 2 little clips. Here's a screw, here's a screw, here's support, here's a support. The other 2 screws are coming from the bezel to hold this stuff down. Okay, then our screen should lift out and flop over. Now this is touch screen. The screen must include the digitizer or something in with it. It's a different design than I'm used to, but it's just one simple cable here to replace. You can see that the Wi-Fi cables track up through here, track down along the bottom, okay, and up around this left hinge here, and it goes right there. And then we have our camera cable up here. Again, no screws, just going to be tape under it. Yeah, I'd give this one an F. As far as taking the screen apart, I mean, now that you know that there's glue all over this tape, you know how to do it. You won't struggle like I did. However, that also means you have to replace this tape every time you put in a new screen. Or you can do what I'm going to do if I decide to go with this model and not put the tape back on, because it's held in by clips and it's held in by screws. So the tape is just kind of stupid. All right, so let me put this back together. You see how it is now. Yeah, worst display design I've seen so far. Okay, so here we are fully assembled again. Final thoughts. Dell 3120. This thing specs pretty high. I've speed tested all these computers. Here's my final thoughts. 1, just like the other Dell models, these things scuff really, really easy. Not happy about that. 2, as far as display assemblies go, this device gets the worst possible rating I can give it. The fact that you used glue around the LCD bezel as opposed to just using the clips and the screws that are already on there makes no sense at all. By the way, if you ever repair a computer and you unhook the battery, okay, it's likely that these things will go into a deep sleep mode. That's actually fairly normal. Just plug the thing in for a second. Okay, just plug it in, let it grab some power. You know, the power light comes on. Once you do that, the display should come back alive. All right. There we go. Okay, so we're logged back in. You can see it is touchscreen. Okay, so everything's opening really slow. I'm gonna close that. Boy, this touchscreen kind of sucks too. I mean, it works, but it's kind of slow. All right, so I'm not a huge fan of this one. It's an okay computer, don't get me wrong. It benchmarks well. But if I'm being honest, if I'm being real honest, I don't like it. Okay, it's okay. It's okay if I had to go with it, I could. It's not my first choice. I think I prefer the 3110 2-in-1, even though they built everything onto one board. The only thing I'd get on here that's one board is just the USB-C port. So, hope it helps you out. Hope you enjoyed the video.